idea where to start, and you want to get done quickly, and you know that a coach can help you push you to that finish line, but you just don't know the right questions to ask. If you've been wondering these things, then you need to watch today's episode of From ABD to PhD Show. My name is Dr. Ramon Goings. I'm the host of the show and founder of Done Dissertation, where our goal is to demystify the dissertation process so that you can write and defend your dissertation in 1 year or less. On today's episode, I want to give you all the inside scoop of what to ask for, because we know folks are considering getting a coach, but sometimes it's like, I've never done this before, so what do I look for? And there are a lot of folks, unfortunately, a lot of scammers, a lot of crooks out here that are looking to prey on doctoral students and take their money and not provide a service. So I want to give you a couple of questions in today's episode to ask in a potential coach that you're vetting throughout the process. Before we get into the content, today's episode is sponsored by the Done Dissertation Velocity Coaching Program. Our goal in our program is to help doctoral students write and defend their dissertation in 1 year or less. So if you're looking to get help, you want inside scoop, and you'll know the right questions to ask after today's episode, you can go ahead and visit www.velocitydissertation.com, or you can scan the QR code that is here on the screen and pause the video. So before we get into this, it's just an interesting time in just history right now that, the first things first, that, as doctoral students, you may need the extra support to finish the process, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. All types of people get coaches, and, we have leaders and CEOs who get, executive coaches. Coaching is not the issue, right? It's a matter of who do you trust and how do you go about vetting people in this process? Because again, I don't want you all to get taken advantage of, because I've seen a lot of folks, unfortunately, who have come to work with us after being taken advantage of by a coach who did not fulfill their promise to them, or did just, essentially just took money and did nothing in return. And so this is why in today's episode, I'm going to give you 3 important questions to consider asking when you're looking to vet a dissertation coach. And so again, when we think about questions you should ask, the first one, and this may seem simple, but I think this is a really important question that you should ask if you can't figure out and get the information yourself, is essentially, can I see a copy of your dissertation? Look, this is an important question to ask, because there's some folks that are proclaiming to be coaches and don't even have their doctorates. And you'd be surprised, like, you may not believe me, but like, people are out here doing this. And the reason why I even had that question as a first question that you want to ask for, or if you can't find the information, is because we had an experience with a student that we were talking to, and they were vetting coaches, and they reached out to us about our program. We talked to them through the process, how we help folks. And then once this person ended up joining the program, we had a conversation, and they were like, you know what, Dr. Goins, let me tell you what happened. And someone had reached out to them via email saying, hey, I've helped a lot of doctoral students like you at your university get through the dissertation process, and I would welcome the opportunity to help you out. And they went on to explain somewhat what their services were. And my student asked a simple question back on the email. It said, hey, I looked you up on Google Scholar and I couldn't find any of your research or your dissertation. Can you send me a copy of your dissertation? Now, if you're on the other end, you're hearing this right now, what's your logical answer? Once someone asks you that question like that, can I see your dissertation? If you've done it, what would you do? Drop it in the comments, right? Most of us, right, would be like, oh yeah, sure. Here's an email. I'm gonna email my dissertation, or I'm gonna give you a link in order to access it. Because sometimes we do have our dissertations behind, like embargoed for reasons like when we get publications and stuff done. But when she asked the person who reached out about their services, and she asked, well, hey, can I get a copy of your dissertation? They didn't respond and give any didn't give a document back. All they said in their response was like, oh, it helped so many students. I've helped X number of students. And went on to go again about explaining their services. That right there is a red flag. So you got to watch out when you run into folks who are saying they're coaches and you can't find their work anywhere. It's just something to consider. Not to say it's always the case, but in today's age, like, a lot of stuff should be available to you online. Most of it, relatively free or low. You have your university database, you should be able to access it, right? And so I'm going to give you a way to do it and a way to think through this, just so if you're looking for folks, you can look them up. And so what I like to do and how I approach this is I typically go to Google Scholar as my first place, right? And so this is Google Scholar, scholar.google.com. And what you can do there is look up research. You all probably at this point use this. And so let me grab my keyboard so I can type some things out so you all can see kind of like what my process typically would be, and I'll zoom in a little bit too, just so you can see what I normally would do if I'm looking for things. So we'll take myself in this case, right? So if we looked up my work, and we'll just go on Ramon Goings, right? You could look up any person that you reach out to. Typically, what's going to happen is you're going to have their user profile if they have one. Not everyone has Google Scholar, right? A profile on Google Scholar, but if they have any published work, they typically will show up in the searches below if you type in their name. And so, and this gets difficult sometimes to figure out too if your person has a similar name to a lot of researchers, but you could figure out ways to make sure it's the right person, right? Maybe by the institution or whatever it might be. And so, right, this is my own Google Scholar. If you looked me up and you can see the publications, things I have. But now what you want to do is go to the person's, you can click on their profile, and then what you will see is this page that pops up. And so this page is essentially the database of the particular scholar that you're looking for. So you can see me, you can see that citations, 1,500 folks, I have 1,500 citations, the H index. So just so you kind of have an idea, H index is how many times the highest article with the N that's been cited that many times. So essentially, the H index says, for all of my work, there's been 22 instances where I've had 22 citations cited at least 22 times. In terms of like how to kind of catch that measure. And I'm going to confirm with that because I know that sometimes they change how they're measuring these indexes. And then the I-10 index, all it's just saying is that I have 34 pieces that have been cited at least 10 times. And then since 2019, 32 have been cited at least 10 times. That's what all these numbers mean. And citations is just the total number of citations to any of my work. And then since 2019, they'll give you since a certain date. And here is 1,388. And so what you can do is look up the person's research, right, in the work. So my work focused on Black male student success, diversifying the teacher workforce, gifted education. So you'll see the number of the works that I've had. But typically what might be your best route is to then you can go either cited by, you can categorize by cited by, which it is right now. So it shows that this article with my colleague, Dr. Margarita Bianco, has been cited 217 times. Shout out to Dr. Margarita Bianco at the University of Colorado, Denver. One of my mentors, great colleague. We do a lot of work together. And so what I would do is actually go to the year. And then what you could see is like anything that's popped up for each year, right? So I had some stuff come out in 2024. This process takes forever these days for articles to come out. So it's just, I'm lucky to have some of these pieces getting, dropping finally. And so what we'll do is, which I would typically recommend is like scroll to the bottom of the person's Google Scholar account. And sorry if y'all for the long scroll. And then somewhere usually at the bottom, you just got to kind of find it. You'll find usually someone's dissertation. So like in my case, my dissertation was published, went to Morgan State. It was published in 2015 when I defended. And so you can click and then you can actually go to the document, right? I'm not going to do that because it's going to pull up a database for me to look through. But this is what I would recommend if you are trying to figure out someone's work, trying to figure out if they're legit. Start a Google Scholar, see what they have, and then you kind of go from there. So that's just the route that I would go when I'm considering looking for a coach at that point in time. Again, this stuff I think is really important to consider because, again, you don't want to get taken advantage of. And then you want to see, I think it's important in a coach. And even if we, some of my coaches, we look up their stuff as well. Like you want folks who have actually done research and know how to think through the process, because there's one thing to have written your own dissertation, but it's another thing to go through the research, article writing process. It teaches you and refines your skills. I think some of those skills are really helpful to doctoral students as they're navigating the dissertation process. And so I just always recommend that when you look into a coach, you find someone who has a plethora of research experiences, because again, you want someone to be able to help you. So like in our program, we have doctoral students who are in all sorts of fields, from nursing to nursing to stem cell biology to I'm trying to think of folks that are in right now, to psychology, to business administration, to education, higher education, curriculum and instruction, early childhood education. We've kind of seen a little bit of everything, communications, interdisciplinary studies, right? So we had so many people come through, and it's helpful that when you're looking at a coach that you find someone who is able to, or a system that's able to help folks, regardless of the discipline, because I think that really can help support you and get your needs met throughout the process. So these are things that you definitely want to ask in a coach. And again, the first question you got to ask is, can I see a copy of your dissertation? And so if any of this is resonating with you, let me know in the comments, questions you might have, things that you're thinking about as I'm talking about this, or other things that you have considered when asking a coach? Again, I'm going to give you 3 things today, but there might be more. So please drop them in the comments, because other folks coming through watching this video on the replay will be able to benefit from the questions that you like to ask coaches as well. And so with that said, the second question that you want to ask if you are looking into getting a coach is, can I talk to a current and or former client to learn about their experience in your program? You know, me, when I get that type of question, we welcome that at Dissertation. Like, yes, when folks ask us, and a lot of times on our calls, when you meet Renee, we talk about that a lot of times. We actually say, hey, we would love for you to, you know, talk with a current or former client, and we try to pair you up with them so that you can have a conversation. We think that's really important. And then if you run into a coach who's not willing to do that, it's something to consider, especially if they are promoting their clients online. So, because sometimes there are certain clients that do not want to be contacted, and we, as a coach, always respect that, right? There are folks we always ask before we make these connections. But if you're a coach, you're looking for a coach and they're not willing to connect you with people that they've helped, that's a potential, red flag. And I don't want y'all to go through that process. And again, if you decide to apply to work with us in our program, this is actually something that we will encourage if we find that you're trying to figure out, will this work for me? And then because we have so many students at this point who have been through our system, we'll try to pair you up with a client who's had a similar situation as you, so that you can hear from someone who has navigated exactly what you're going through. And so we try our best to do that, because we know that everyone has a different journey through this doctoral process. So we try to group you and pair you up with someone who could talk about their experience, who is going through a similar setup as yourself. Again, we think this is really important. And just to give an example, we had somebody reach out recently that wanted to join the program, and they were having some difficulties with getting access to their chair and committee members, and folks not really being helpful. And so literally we helped them, and they said they wanted to talk to a client. So we matched them with a client in our program who experienced the same thing with a chair who was unresponsive, so that she could talk about how our supports helped her navigate the process. So these things are really important. And if you have and run into a faculty member who is not willing to provide that help, and and a coach that's not willing to talk about what their clients have done and really share what's happening, that's a red flag. And so I really, really want you all to consider this before you work with any coach, because again, we want you all to get through this program. We all want you to get through this program with ease and not with a headache. And so it's important that you get the support that you need, in rather than trying to figure this thing out, spinning around over and over and over again, and not sure where to go with the process. And so if you're someone who's been looking for that help and you say, hey, I actually want to get some support now, I'm at a point where I want to get help, we would invite you to apply to the Velocity Coaching Program. To learn more about our program and how we help you get done within the next year, you can go to velocitydissertation.com, or you can scan the QR code that is here on your screen. And if you happen to be watching this on YouTube, if you can hit the like and subscribe button, that would be amazing. And if you were watching this on LinkedIn or Facebook, make sure that you hit the like button and follow us, just so that we can keep up with you all and let you all know when we have new content that is coming out. And so again, with that question we just talked about, question number 2, can I talk to a current and or former client to learn about their experience in your program? That is really an important question. Now, the third question, I think this is a valid question, and it's something that you should ask. And it's kind of like a double question, but essentially, what is your success rate, and how many clients have you helped through the process? And so this is always a great question. We always welcome this question. And I will say, I want to give you a couple of caveats. When you think about success rate in a coaching program, depending on how the program is situated that you're looking into, their metric may vary. So like if someone asks us that question about what's our success rate, I always say, because our promise is to help people finish within 1 year or less, we look at, and how I provide success rates is like looking at, all right, of all of our graduates, who finishes within 1 year of working with us? And so that's one of the metrics we use for our success rate, right? And so right now it's 76.5% of our folks who have worked with us finish within 1 year. And for those who do not finish within the 1 year, it's for a couple of reasons in particular. One is that sometimes they're doing studies that have research designs that have actually long data collection processes. So imagine if you're doing an ethnographic study, or if you have some type of experiment that's a long-term experiment or longitudinal. sometimes just because of your design, it impacts your time frame to finishing. For a number of our folks, they are, in a caretaking role. So a number of folks have not finished, not because of their work or what's going on, because they have other responsibilities with their family. I've had one client who was taking care of a relative who was transitioning, like stuff like that. Really impactful stuff that sometimes has to slow them up. Like, we're all about family first. You got to help and do what you have to do with your family. So that impacts. And then some folks are impacted just by experiencing health challenges themselves. A couple years ago, especially when the onset of COVID, a number of clients have COVID. That's really delayed their process. So that is something that you always got to consider with that. But that's an important thing, right? Is like in terms of what to ask for is the success rate, and then how many clients have you gotten through the process. And so, we're happy to report that we've worked with over 100 doctoral students, 103 at this point. Plus, we have some more that are in the pipeline, getting ready to finish up through this process. And what I wanted to do, because I think it's important not only to talk about how many, right? Because that can be somewhat not tangible, and I could see how that could be the case. But I think it's also important that I want to put faces to the names of folks, and so you can see what success looks like. And I want to shout out, and these are just some of our 2024 graduates. And in this case, we're going to show folks who have defended their proposal and or actually defended their final dissertation and will earn their doctorate in the spring of 2024 semester when this video has been recorded. And so I got to give folks their shout outs and give them some love. And these are just some of our folks, right? And so first things first, I'm going to give shout out to two people in particular. One is Dr. Tammy Lane. And so let me make that full screen so y'all can see. Shout out to Dr. Tammy Lane, who's earning her doctorate at Prairie View A&M University. Dr. Lane came to us after her proposal defense in January of 2024, or actually December 2023, at the tail end into January 2024. Wrote her dissertation, defended in March of 2024, and now has finished. Shout out to Dr. Wantisa Hughes. I can't wait. We're going to have a conversation about Wantisa Hughes' story, just the fact that she has gone through so many challenges with the universities. She's had 2 universities shut down during the course of her writing her dissertation. One of the universities actually shut down a couple of days. Actually, there was 3 days before her actual final defense last year. So if you could imagine what that would be like if that happened to you, like, I know for me, I'd be devastated, right? And so these are things that hold people back from finishing. So sometimes not a issue of, are you all as doctoral students willing to put in the work? Sometimes it's just a matter of, look, sometimes life happens, stuff happens, and that's just how this process goes. But shout out to these graduates. Also, I got to give a big shout out to Seneca Trotman. So Seneca defended her dissertation with us. She joined our program in January and had her proposal defense in April. So it doesn't take long. And she had been stuck for a while before that and came to us and said, hey, I got to figure this thing out. And now I'm shout out to you, Seneca. I saw that your call for participants in your study is out. And so we shared that on LinkedIn recently. If you're a technology director in the state of Georgia, so if you're a technology director in a school system, if you're a technology director in a school, Seneca is looking for Black women technology directors in school systems because she's doing a study about the experience of Black women technology directors. And so if that's your experience, you happen to be in that type of role in a school system in the state of Georgia, please send us a message wherever you can on social media so I can connect you with Seneca, because she is collecting data for her dissertation right now. And then also with that, shout out to Dr. Nathan Webb, who's earning his doctorate at, let's see, Lord have mercy, just lost his university that fast. Oh man, sometimes you have these mind lapses for Dr. Webb from William Patterson University in New Jersey. So shout out to Dr. Webb. Dr. Webb was on a recent episode of From ABD to PhD show. So definitely go back and check out his episode. Dr. Webb's journey was just amazing because he was able to, not only finish his dissertation, but during that time, his wife and him, they actually welcomed a newborn to the family unit. So as you could imagine, he was writing his dissertation while taking care of a newborn. And the way we rolled things out and the way we thought through the process was to, ensure that he not only finished his dissertation, but also did so in a way that the time worked pretty well with the newborn coming. So you definitely got to check out his episode. It's phenomenal to be able to do. He's a music educator and did a self-study looking at the experiences of a music educator in a school district that does not have a district level music administrator. A very unique study, and looking forward to seeing what comes from that. And then from there, again, we're just trying to showcase the clients. So I think it's really important as y'all see what success looks like. We have Dr. Jessie Desir, who just earned her doctorate in PhD in nursing from Barry University, and she did a phenomenological study of women who have gone through uh, cancer treatment, and it's a phenomenal work. It's just the way she did her phenomenology. It was like, it was masterful what she did. So shout out to Dr. Desir. You're looking for a great nurse to give you some insights about research. Like, she is someone to definitely check out, and make sure y'all connect with Dr. Desir. And then also on the right, we have Dr. Constance Clark, who earned her doctorate and PhD in politics and education at Teachers College, Columbia University. A phenomenal researcher, and I'm looking forward to seeing what she's doing with her research that looked at a case in North Carolina around tracking, in a particular policy that was implemented. And it was a great case study of looking at politicians and their views on the policy and what they did to bring this policy forth, the nonprofit sector, the education sector. It's a phenomenal study, and looking forward to seeing what she's going to do with her work. And then with that, lastly, I do got to give a shout out to Dr. Davina Ware, who is a drama educator and did a study looking at the experience of Black girls in drama classroom in K-12 settings. Phenomenal work at Ashland University. And then shout out to Dr. Marsha Anderson Bomar, who earned her doctorate in, I think, environmental design from the University of Georgia. Her dissertation looked at the transportation industry and looking at how do we get more youth to consider the transit as a means of transportation for them. And so, again, I just wanted to showcase these studies and these scholars, because I think it's important that, folks can see what, finishing and what these, what does it look like to actually be done. And I think one of the greatest ways that a coach can show you that folks get done is actually to show you what they do, right? And so shout out to some of and these are, again, just some of our spring 2024 graduates, and so folks who have hit their dissertation proposal milestone. And so, again, I think it's really important that you see it, right? And so I wanted to make sure that I showed that to you. But with that, if you're someone like you want to be part of that bunch, you have the skills you have the skills to do it. You just need a support. You need a system, and you need guidance, and you want to be able to streamline this process. I would invite you to apply with us in the Velocity Coaching Program. You can learn more about our program and to schedule a consultation at www.velocitydissertation.com. Again, it's www.velocitydissertation.com, or you can scan the QR code that is here on your screen. When that happens, when you actually go to our website, I just want to make sure that you see what happens when you get to the website, so you're just not like shocked and it comes out of nowhere. So once you get to our page, you will see my wife and I, Renee Goings. And so one thing that you should know is that when you schedule your consultation, you will actually have a conversation with Renee, who will tell you all about the program and actually look at your situation and your application to see how we can best help you, or if we can't, how to best support you getting through the process. And so on our site, you can definitely read more about our program to see if this is right for you. So make sure you read through. You can click on one of the green buttons where it says schedule a consultation. It will take you to our application form. And then from there, you can apply to work with us. And then, of course, you can learn more about what I've been doing, the work that we've done as a staff. But then also here as well, we kind of work you through the phases of the program and how we help get you done. And then from there, if you excuse me, I'm just moving my screen around. If you go further down on the website, we also show you and talk with you through other clients. So you can meet some of our other alum and you kind of get a structure for how the program is, how we structure it, how we help you get to the finish line. So definitely read through this so that you can learn about what the program is. And then most certainly what life looks like after. And then you can hear from folks who have also been through our program. So a number of our clients, other folks who have been through, you can hear from them and see their testimonials of what they've been able to do with their doctorate. And so I would just invite you, if you're looking to get done, you're looking to get out of this process, I would invite you to work with us. So if you want to learn more, again, you can go to velocitydissertation.com. You can scan the QR code that is here on your screen. And I will bring up the URL as well, just so it's across your screen, just so in case you need to write it down or you're in a different place where you want to jot this thing down. And so with that, again, I just want to recap from today. What are the 3 questions that you should be considering to ask at this point in the process? So first things first, make sure you ask, hey, can I see your dissertation? Or you figure out a way that you want to vet if you can't vet them, right? Definitely Google Scholar them as I showed you in the example today. Second, you should say, hey, is it possible to talk to a current or former client from your coaching program? I think that's a fair question to ask. They should be willing to give you somebody. It'd be great for somebody that has a similar situation to you, but sometimes depending on the size of a program, that may or may not be possible. In our case, we have a lot of clients, and so that would come through. So we can definitely match you up with somebody, and we will do that on our end. And then 3, you should ask a question about what's the success rate and how many folks have you gotten through the process. I think that's really important to ask those types of questions, and they should be willing to give you information. And this is why we lead with our graduates. Like, we're just as good. We're only as good as a company as our graduates. And we had some phenomenal folks come through our coaching program who are going on to do amazing things with their doctorate. And so I would invite you, and I would love for you to be part of that next crew of folks who are finishing their doctorate within the next year. So if you're looking to get done, and this is the time that you say, you know what, I need coaching right now, all you have to do is go to www.velocitydissertation.com or scan the QR code that is here on your screen. So with that said, I want to say thank you so much for watching today's episode. I hope this was insightful for you as you think through your process to find a coach. And if you have any questions, please let us know in the comments. If you're watching us on YouTube, hit the like and subscribe button. And until next time, please continue to do this work, because you all have organizations to transform. You have communities to transform, and you have individuals you care most about to transform. So don't let your dissertation get in the way of doing that transformative work. And until next time, I wish you all a done dissertation, and we'll see you on the next episode of From